Hey guys, this is Swiss Lace Day 4. Now, I can tell you right now that the glue came through at this point at the front and the tape marking method was never quite right. Always a bit of lifting here. The adhesion to Swiss lace, no matter how much glue, it always lifts at the front. It's a constant battle to try to get this to stay down. Like I've said, sweat with poly and sweat with Swiss lace are both bad for adhesion. It ruins it. All these hairs along here have been removed and you can see that unbleached knots poking through. It's just unsightly all the way through. Now at 11 o'clock in the morning, I've got to be at an audition. It's now 10 to 12, so I've got 12 hours and 10 minutes to get there. That gives me some time. I just woke up, so I should be semi-fresh. But I can't go there face to face. I won't be able to do a real brush forward look. This one's for Toyota, Japan. I've got to look alright for that. The brief is that I've got to look like a 40-something-year-old who's trying to still look young. So they want me to wear clothes that are too young for me. I don't know, maybe this t-shirt's okay. I think I've got 3 of these t-shirts. I love this t-shirt. This is the line one that actually fits me because I sized up. Still hungover from yesterday. Maybe I'll be able to squeeze in some sleep before I do that audition. Probably not. Back's killing me as it does every morning. Every morning. I just woke up 10 p.m. or so. Right, so there's nothing I can do to make this any good. Swiss lace simply deteriorates quicker than everything else. Now this is a good example of how I've done it wrong. A lot of it had to do with trying to fix up the front hairline. Probably I was plucking away at some hairs at the front, but it would be less noticeable if those knots were bleached all the way through. Like I say, it's shocking that they don't do that in every industry, in every hair company. There should never be a knot that is not bleached. I've spoken before about the concept, and one of the commenters, I'm sorry I forgot your name, keeps reiterating that he actually does it. He buys blonde hair pieces and then dyes the hair color to his hair color, which seems like the best solution for making sure that the knots are absolutely bleached perfectly because they're already all blonde. He says he puts hair gel, I think he said hair gel, through the hair, and that sort of controls it and stops the absorption coming right down through to the roots when he dyes the hair his color. It's really the ultimate way to dye a lace piece, and that's exactly the method that companies should use. His method. But really, poly at the front hairline is the best way to make sure that there's no clear kind of problem with applying glue around here, because you've always got to guess. You've either got to use micro pore tape for tape marking, or you've got to dye your skin. I mean, fake tan your skin around here if you've got light skin, so you can see the line. Now I lifted this a little bit a couple of days ago to try and stick this back down, but it wasn't a clean line. If it had been poly, potentially because of the plastic being an exact line like that, it would have been clearer, a clearer line between tan and paleness. But because it's lace, it sort of crept through all the way around the edges. It's not an exact clear line. It's still a vague line of, you'll see when I take this off, it'll be lighter skin up here and darker skin where I've put the spray tan on. Yeah, so this is about 3 days since I put this hairpiece on, and also 3 days since I put the spray tan on. I was having some splotches because I didn't distribute the spray tan evenly around my neck area. But nobody's mentioned spray tan. It's a very good, more realistic brown level. It's not orange. So this is Model Ink Tan Airbrush in a can. And I swear, it's having a spray tan if you're pasty like me makes you look better. So there's no point in trying to snip bits away at this. This has to be thrown away. It's no good. So with sweating underneath lace as compared to poly, there are no puddles of sweat underneath lace. So if that was poly that I'd been lifting, that would have been wet underneath there because there would have been no air getting in. But with poly, at least you can glue exact to the line. So next time I'll be receiving, when they finish making it, it's disgusting. It's going in the bin. Next time I'll be receiving two 15 by 30 centimeter rectangles of French lace, not Swiss lace, that one. But today I will be using the other Swiss lace for the audition today. This is C22. So I only got three days out of that Swiss lace piece. People were saying, you only get a month out of that hair piece? No, I get 3 days out of it. 3 days. They're worth about $250 each. You could say I wasn't careful enough. I did cut it in half though, so I'm getting 2 hair pieces, so I might get 6 days all well up. And I would continue to probably wear that if I wasn't going out in public, but still, what's the point of wearing hair at all if you can't go out in public? Might as well just be bald at home, right? The hairpiece has to work, and that one did not work. Now, there is the problem of the hairpiece not working, but also the problem of the glue not working. There are better hairpieces. There are hairpieces that do work, of course. And the problem is usually the glue. Why can't it withstand body heat? Why can't it? Why can't it withstand sweat? As far as I can see on this date, the something of November 2020, there is still no decent glue that I've seen. Somebody said they were going to try Dermabond, which for me is about $50 for a vial this big, or $100 for a vial this big, which is $18 in America, I think, for a vial like that. You probably need 2 vials to put your hair on, so that's about $40 or something in America. In Australia, that Dermabond, it's surgical glue used for sticking wounds back together. For me, it would be about $200 every time I put a hairpiece on. Obviously, that's unacceptable. There's no way I'd use that. If I had a box of it for free, I'd try it. Still don't know if it would work, but it was seemingly it would be the best glue for skin. Because if we compared that sticky tape that I was using the other day, this stuff, you could see how badly it stuck to the skin. And then you saw this stuff, Transpore by 3M, stick a bit better, and then this Micropore stick the best. The same way that those tapes stick better or worse to your skin. There are certain glues that would stick better to your skin as well. So I'll shave this shave zone and prepare my scalp and put some glue on, and I will be using the tape marking method again today to put on that second Swiss lace piece that I cut out. I really hope that that custom order arrives quickly, because I didn't expect these hair pieces to last only 3 days. Like I said, it could be my fault, but Swiss lace is so problematic, especially if the block knots aren't bleached, that it's difficult to expect a good amount of time that they will last for. French lace is better, poly's the best. The one good thing about lace is it looks realistic around the perimeter, where the lace presses up against the perimeter of your natural hair, but it's very difficult to make it look good down here past the first day. The moment you have a shower, that beautiful look on the front is gone. So if you're shooting a movie or something and you're going to change the hairpiece every day and you've got a big budget, the most realistic is probably Swiss lace right at the front hairline. But if you want to wear it for a long period of time, it's no good. You can see I've bleached my natural hairs here and here from the time I had to deal with the poly problem. Sorry, with the bleach knot, the unbleached knot problem of the Swiss lace piece that I just took off my head. Another reason to be angry at the hair company for not bleaching the knots. It doesn't matter if they give a disclaimer, dear customer, we have not bothered to bleach the back half or the middle of the hairpiece at all, and the knots are unbleached, even though you're paying top dollar. We just couldn't be bothered bleaching those knots. It should say that in capital letters, warning, this hairpiece is not being made properly, but we're going to sell it to you for full price anyway. I've shaved most of my scalp, but I just thought I'd tell you, I'm not just doing this freely up around the perimeter and just going by sight. I've learned the trick is, when shaving around this perimeter part, you need to put your little finger of your left hand, if you're right-handed. I shave with my right hand. You need to put that finger there, so you can use it as a guide, as a barrier, so you can't get in there. The hairband is not good enough to stop you from shaving too much back. You need that shave zone to be the same as your stencil, obviously, every time. So I am just trimming away the stubble around that outer edge. Okay, obviously shaving backwards and everything else. You would think it would cause rashes to brush against the grain like this. Like if you shave against the grain on your face, it causes a rash, especially on your neck usually. If you're female, you probably don't have to worry about that. So in Japan, they don't really have that much facial hair, I suppose, Japanese people. And you can say Japanese people pretty much generally to mean the race of Japanese, because in Japan I think they have a kind of no immigration policy. So it's like pretty much one of the cleanest racial countries in the world, as far as I know. You don't get many immigrants in Japan. So if I'm going to appeal to those producers, I'm not sure if I need to be clean shaven to sort of match what sort of facial expressions they want. The problem for me is I've got a double chin, and this little beardy thing and stubble sort of helps disguise that a bit. So I'm going to keep it. But they might think that facial hair is unsightly. Except that an old wise man or something, you know, those long Asian wise men who are sitting, I'm going to say the Himalayas, but I'd say Mount Fuji in this case, meditating a foot above the ground for 1,000 years. And somebody comes to ask him a question and he gives some profound riddle that doesn't mean shit. I think I should make a movie called Wise Man. And everyone comes to him and he has all the answers, but they're all just riddles and none of them actually make any fucking sense. And everybody's just, the moral of the story is just do what the fuck you want, because there are no wise men. People might have learned how to deal with their own life problems over time. Like I just showed you, I've become wise in the ways of having to put my finger there and not shave back too far. But shit, how to cope with life. You just gotta live it, I think. It's very wise of me, isn't it? That means I'm probably wrong. They're all wise men instead. All right, seems pretty clean. I was just about to put on some glue, but before I do put on glue, like I showed you on the first day that I put this on, this was not shining through very badly in this room with no beaming sunlight coming down on my face. But when I went out in the sunshine, it was melting. The glue was melting from the sun heat. It was 32 degrees Celsius, which is fucking, I used to look at this. 70s 20, 80s 25, 90 is 30. So it was just under 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 32 degrees, 33 degrees. So it was shining right through because it was melted. That's why I had that thing coming out the front there. It was all clumped together because the glue had come through the lace because it had melted and pushed through. And it was gonna, if I'd worn a hat to try to hide the shine beaming out through those massive gaps in this Swiss lace, it would have been disgusting. It would have destroyed the hairpiece immediately. And the hairpiece was already destroyed, right? So wearing a hat, you can't do that with any lace in summer or whenever it's hot. If it's winter, you might get away with it. But you know how when you go skiing sometimes and it's really cold, but you're wearing a hot beanie and your head's sweating when you take it off because you've been skiing and stuff? That is still going to sweat and ruin your hairpiece as well. So you can kind of wear a hat in cold weather with lace, but if your head's starting to sweat, then it's still going to be ruined. So poly's just really the answer. The thing is though, today I don't want to wear an asshole piece. You know, the back half of the poly that I was, you know, I'm running out of hair pieces now. And the vertical V-loops, which I thought were really good, the density was too low. So the density on those poly pieces from that custom order I got first, which was sort of like a trial, the first of 4, it failed because the density was too low. The density has to be medium, otherwise you can see in. With poly, the problem with that, with thin skin poly, the problem with that, you can see the straight lines of the V-loops, which are not bleached at all, right? When it's dense enough, that doesn't seem to matter because it's invisible. It matters though when they're going side to side, because then you've got a very clear bad hairline because it's a wall of hair. And with Swiss lace, which is the thinnest, well, it's thick, medium light density on Swiss lace, or medium light density on any lace, or any, let's just talk about lace, medium light, you're going to see through the gaps. So you don't want glue shining through. You don't want it melting through. You don't want the sunshine melting the glue and shining out through. Acrylic glue might be the thing that's guilty of all of that. And so therefore, if you use a white glue, a water-based glue, like Ghost Bond, Platinum, that might be less reflective. The silicone glues, I've only sort of dabbled in that. It turns into hardened plastic. I get the feeling that that wouldn't probably shine through, and it probably wouldn't melt. Because it's almost like it reacts with air and hardens like a plastic rock. You can still dig your fingernail into it, but it's not probably going to melt in sunshine heat. that might work. But it has very little stick. In the moment the hairpiece lives at an edge, it can't be pressed back down because it's not remelting. That's why I've said in the past, I can't experiment on this today because I'm going to go to an audition. I can't afford to have that all fucked up and be paranoid about that shit. I just hope the audition isn't hot. I'll have the air conditioning blasting me in the car before I get out, that's for sure. And if they leave me in the waiting room too long, I'll just have to go to the bathroom and I'll just go back out to the car and air condition my face again because I think I've got hyperhidrosis. I sweat way too much. Even when I was skinny, I sweat a lot. All right. I'm gonna put some alcohol in here. It's 24 degrees in here right now. Humidity 35%. That doesn't seem too bad, but I'm a little bit sweaty at the moment. So I'm not going to be experimenting with the silicone as a primer today. And it's very hard to get that silicone to just be flat. It always ends up lumpy, like lump. It's like the topography of a mountain range. If you're not extremely careful, and you've only got a few seconds to make that shit go flat before it dries in whatever pattern, I'd expect that to leave gigantic finger marks if I tried to rub it in with my fingers. My theory with that one is, if that's stuck to your head more, that could stay stuck to your head, right? Then you put something that lifts from your head more easily, like acrylic glue, and you put that over the top of the silicone, and then you put the poly on top of that. Or any hairpiece on top of that. For me, that makes me think that you've got a level of insulation between your skin, definitely insulating from any sweat, so it wouldn't ever get wet from sweat. The glue would not get wet from sweat because you've got that silicone primer stopping any sweat coming through the pores into this, and potentially slowing down any heating up of this glue, reducing its melting. Of course, direct sunlight beaming down on top of your head is going to make this melt anyway, right? Anyway, I'm going to glue the back half now, but I'm not going to be doing the silicone primer experiment today. The reason I mention silicone primer is because, the reason I would be okay with using a primer, even though Max Hold Sport didn't work at all, is because silicone is much thicker, and that's the one thing it might be good for. It just isn't really very good at sticking a hairpiece to your head, for the reasons I said. When it dries, it loses its stick. When you lose your stick, you can't press it back down. You've got to keep adding glue. And given how thick that stuff is and how it doesn't change its topography when you press down on it, it just remains rock bumpy all the time. Forgot the start of the sentence, I'm hungover. Alright, but yeah, I'm not going to be using Max Hold Sport because it's shit. And silicone, I haven't tried it yet, but it's lumpy. I can't afford all those things to be happening to me today. Even though this glue may shine through the Swiss lace, which is medium light density, which is very light density, you can see through. But right now, as I'm saying this, I'm second thinking that I might not use Swiss lace today because it's too risky. I'm just trying to think of what hair pieces I've got. I'll have a look in the box and see what hair pieces I actually do have. Ultra Hold has high viscosity as well, so this is lumpy too, but you can press down on those lumps a bit and it remains sticky, which means that if there is any lifting of the hair, you can still just press it back down and it'll stick back down. Now, there's a vague tan line there, but it's way too vague to see where the glue points should be done to. So my tan marking method failed because the tan is too washed out, even though it's new. but I do get a vague sense of where it's browner and lighter. I don't want to be adding this much glue, by the way. It's just the way it comes off the brush. It's just really thick. Dazzling green is not as thick as this, which actually improves the hold, reduces all the lumpiness completely. I'm thinking, because I've got to fucking use the tape marking method and everything again, I might just go all the way down to the front here and try to do it in one go, so I don't have to do a second application of the glue. Although I probably will have to, because it'll be lifting at the front. Shit, I'm just wondering if I do have a good poly piece. Today is too important. It's a $4,000 job. If I get it. But it's not, when you're an actor and you're going for an audition, you're approaching casting directors, and they have lots of jobs, right? So it's not just about this one job. You don't go to just get this job. You go there to be remembered. So I'm going to spend an hour or so researching that casting director, so I can learn people's names at the agents or at the office there where I'm going. It's pretty rare these days to do an in-person audition. Usually it's just done through self-tapes. You send a tape in through the internet. It's not a tape, it's a taping, it's like a recording. Tape is just an old style word for recording. Now, usually just send a link. So I'll let this dry. I'll pick those bits out of the edge there when they dry. I'll put down a hairpiece. Let's just pick one, because I'm going to have to wet it anyway. Right. This is the Swiss lace. I've already pre-bleached the front edge of that, the edge opposite these things, which they keep sewing into fold. This one is poly, but it does not have an Ashford's tag, which makes me think it's a front piece. No, it's not, is it? This could be part of my low density custom piece, which has too low density to look good, so I'm not using that either. Both of those hair pieces are not the best, but the Swiss lace is my first preference out of those. This is another one of those very low density poly pieces from the custom order, where the density was way too low, so I can't wear that. This is French lace. Feel the weight of this one compared to all those others. It's got way more hair on it. This is feeling like it could be my first preference today. I've already bleached the front hairline there. That might be my first preference. That's an arse end. There's another arse end. And that looks like a nice medium density piece of poly front end. So that, of all the pieces I've just shown you, is the ultimate. But I just don't have any more supplies, and it's hard to get supplies now with COVID. Even if I did have $1 million, I still couldn't get it. I'm not sure it would be possible, but I don't even have hundreds of dollars to spare right now. Okay, so I will be choosing the French lace. Unfortunately, it looks like I cut it right where the crown goes in all directions, which means these hairs from this point are going to go that way, and all these hairs are going to go that way. So, not just because I'm holding it that way, look, I'm holding it from the sides now. It still wants to do that. So back up here, the hairs are going to want to go that way there and that way there. It's really hard and I don't know how to do it. Please tell me in the comments below if you know a way to force the hairs to go in the way opposite they were created at the factory. But I'm going to be using French lace today. And I'll have a brush forward look probably, because it's really hard, even with tape marking, to get this to be perfect at the front hairline. I just wet the French lace piece and I put it on my knee and I brushed it. But now you got to turn it over because it's lace, so the hairs stick out through the bottom of it and you got to pull them out. Don't shave them, otherwise you'll be cutting all the knots. You have to do it this way. And remove all this plastic stitching shit. Remove all that. That's all just plastic threads that they stitch through to try and keep it rounded. Okay. Just gonna wait for this to dry. I'll be back. Okay, so I've prepared my scalp and put down some glue. The back 3/4. I'm gonna spray some alcohol. And then I will place this top center of the hairpiece up here. It's not hard to see. Try to anchor that pimple there. Hopefully this will be equidistant. This side. This is medium density French lace, medium dark brown. The last piece I had was Swiss lace, medium light density, medium dark brown ash. So this is color number 4 on Lord Hair's website. And the other one is color number 4 ash on Lord Hair's website. I'm so glad to have this medium density back. So much better than medium light density. Medium light density was the first density I ever bought because it was recommended for realism, medium light density, but it's only good on the first day. No, I don't look for durability so much as longevity in a way, and also believability for over the period of the time that I'll be wearing the hairpiece. There's no point in having durability if it doesn't look good. You don't want a wig because it doesn't look right. Obviously that's going to hang too low. I need that to come up to about there. Maybe there. If I don't, you know what I'll do? Usually I have to glue that down just so that I have it in position before I can properly assess how much I need to cut off. But in this instance, I'm going to tape mark where I want the glue to land, and I will cut off that excess without adding glue here, so I don't have to worry about washing that glue off that edge there. This altitude looks good. This one is too low. So I'll place that down where it's going to be. Squirt some water in it for manageability. Brush it back, then tape mark it. I want all the hairs away from the forehead because it's where I'm going to be placing the tape. My forehead is a little bit wet, so I will dry that. So, as I discovered in my previous video, micro pour is the best tape to use for tape marking with lace. And as I also discovered, the tan is not dark enough in this particular spray tan to see a nice clear line, unfortunately. But it's a good realistic amount of tan, so I do recommend, once again, this one. And that's too low. Put the tape too low, so I've got to lift it up and do it again. And even though you can see that there's water on it because the forehead's still a bit wet, it still sticks, which is good. Far away there. It's really hard to get this stuff accurate. Okay, now this side is more about my own personal opinion. Trying to match the altitude on the left-hand side, because this excess bit of hair of lace here will be cut off. I think that's about right there. I hope this is good. It's really high there. It feels like the whole thing's dropped. I feel like there's going to be a millimetre of exposed lace at the front where there's not enough glue. But I feel like it's a little bit better to not get glue on the forehead at all and have a little bit of, I don't know why I feel that, because later on that means I'm going to have to use a lipstick applicator to try and get into those tiny gaps at the front, and it never works. But the good thing is this is medium density, so any overhang that's a millimetre will not be as visible as you saw with the French lace. And as you can see, that's staying, it's not slipping. This is really good tape for this purpose. You also don't want to get those chunks right there of glue. But you do want that to be applied, but it seems because you turn a corner with the brush at that point, it sort of bulges out to create lumps of glue then and there. So this time I'll try to avoid it. Maybe I'll start from brushing from that point this time, those points. And not go back there anymore. Because the brush both works as an applicator, but also as an eraser to sort of smear away a lot of the good work that has been done. I'm going all the way, at the same level of thickness all the way across, and just going straight over the top of this tape. So I'm treating that like part of my forehead now. As part of my scalp. Be careful not to create chunks up here, right up against the edge either. In fact, I could probably have avoided that altogether, really. I feel like I need a bit more on the front. You don't really want a big chunk along the front hairline, of course, but you don't want it to be too weak either. So I'm trying to smooth it out so there are no chunks at all. With poly, of course, as I've said, you do not need to do any of this. You would just glue straight onto there, and 100% of the time it would land accurate every time, 100%. But with lace, you've got to do all this stuff. That's why I keep saying poly at the front hairline is the best. Okay, so that's dry now. The way you test if it's dry is just use this finger, ring finger, and just tap it. You don't want to smother it and ruin its stickiness. Now, what are the odds that it'll be exact? I think odds are expressed in ratios. What I meant is, what is the percentage chance that it will be absolutely accurate? Don't forget, I left this glue short on the sides because I'm going to cut that extra bit off there. You can see the shine coming through from the glue right there. That gets a lot worse when sunshine hits it. You can rub your finger on that at the moment, and that takes the shine off in those spots. Like, you can just do that all through it, right? There is a lump back here where it feels like it's, you know, bunched up. And I think it has. I don't think those fold overlap bits cause that feeling. So I'm kind of just gonna pull it apart and press down right there. Otherwise it's just gonna be something I have to live with. Look at the density, it's so good. This is medium density French lace. I still haven't decided really if poly or French lace is the ultimate. If the tape marking method was the perfect way to get this thing all lined up at the front, then I would say that French lace would be the ideal medium density French lace. But as you can see, I did miss about 1 millimeter at the front all the way along there. So the tape marking method is definitely not perfect. And on this bit here, I was intending to cut that off, as you know. So I'm going to put the blade of the scissors just in there, and then I'm going to try to dodge hairs as I go through here. Pull out any excess that might have been chopped. And it really does look like a wall of hair at the moment. So it's about 5mm all the way along the front, basically, that hasn't been stuck down. That bit there is stuck down though, because I chopped that. Potentially that could be the way to do it. You tape mark where you want it, leave quite a lot of excess, and then chop all the way along that, potentially. But then with touch-ups and things, you need to worry about it again and again and again. So in that way, poly still wins. But for now, I do need that stuck down more than it is. I don't want to get glue all over my forehead, but I'll try to get it accurate. In this situation, I don't feel like the tape is going to help me. I just need a really small brush. The smallest one I've really got is the I got cotton buds, I've got lipstick applicators. So this one does have the potential to be more accurate if you just do that tip bit there. But I don't want to be so accurate that I don't put enough glue on. Let's see how quickly I can put tape on. There's a delay because there's no way to see where the edges of this mid fingernail. There we go. It's starting to sweat now. It's a muggy, windless night. Maybe I will use the brush after all. Just gonna make sure there's no massive excess on the brush. I should have peeled this off so I could see how much glue is left. This is all sticky. I might C22 the rest of that later. Yeah, there's benefit in putting the tape there, that's for sure, given the brush is this thick. And I really don't want to put a very, very light, useless layer of glue. It needs to be thick enough to hold it down. It's also useful to store a little bit of extra glue on the tape itself so that you can dab into it to get more glue on the brush without having to go back to the bottle all the time. I feel like I wiped a bit of that glue away. Okay, put a bit more. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry again, and I'll clean this stickiness of this bottle. Okay. Second time lucky. Not a very good presenter, am I? Oh, fuck. Not too sweaty here, unlike that plastic sticky tape that offers paper sticky tape. When I say paper sticky tape, I don't mean sticky tape that's made out of paper, I mean tape that's used with paper, okay? I have to disambiguate everything because English sucks. All right, so I'm going to squish this down. I feel like I haven't got any residue on my forehead. There's a definite feeling of sharpness on the edge of French lace compared to Swiss lace. Those knots, they look really unbleached. I might pluck that out after I've brushed it back and had a better look at it. Because you see how dark that is? It's like the knots have been sewn too close together. So there is a 1mm lift going on all the way along there. But I guess I'm just going to live with it. It does look like a wall of hair at the moment though. I have bleached this, but I feel like maybe I should have bleached it more. Because it's very thick, and I guess that's why some people complain about the density of the hairline with French lace. I'm just going to clean this brush. So even the bleaching of the front hairline, which is completely different, of course, from the bleaching of the knots. It's a completely different subject. So to mix them up means you haven't listened to all that I've said. Hairline bleaching is different from knot bleaching. Last time when I did the diagonal cutting to try and contour those parts on the side, it meant that I was unable to do that overhang, which I think is my best look. So this time I'm going to leave them longer, I think. It's really nice to have the medium density as opposed to the medium light density. There is something to complain about in terms of the front hairline at the moment. Because it looks like a wall of hair basically at the front at the moment. It probably will not change. But I'll feel confident, even if it's a really hot day and the glue is melted and shining, that inside the office of the casting director today, somebody who will be in charge of my career, there are only about 20 major casting directors in Australia who cast all the TV commercials and TV shows and films. Not just in Australia, but for briefs that are for international projects. So I've got to get to being liked by them. Not just liked as a person, but liked as a potential star, actor. So the reason I'm able to do this, to go to an actual live casting, is because we've reached 0 cases. 0 new cases every day, 0 deaths every day in Australia. And as far as the last time I saw, there were only 3 people who were infected with COVID in all of my state, Victoria. That's one of 6 states and 2 territories in Australia. So they're opening borders between state lines and letting people from metropolitan areas like Melbourne, where I live, travel to rural areas, and I might be able to go and visit my mum's property, or I can rehearse properly with the songs I'm learning for my show as a singer guitarist. I might have to do some extra trimming after this, I'm not sure yet. Okay, so this front hairline is not good, but it can be disguised if I have a brush forward, curtainy type look. As for that center part that I was worried about up here, it seems like it is long enough, the way I've cut it, that it is falling forward. It's got enough weight, which is good. That lump there, I'm just going to pluck that. That's That's one good thing about lace at the front hairline. You can just rip it. Whereas with poly, it would just pull the whole lot. Yeah, so I have bleached the front hairline, but it still looks a bit like a wall of hair in terms of its density. The poly that I get by default, like this, the S22 units from Lord Hair, they do seem to be midway between medium light and medium. So this is really quite a dense hairpiece. This is the lump that I'm feeling up here. That's hair that's folded because when I was placing this bit up, it moved this and it bunched. But I feel like that's a pretty good length at the moment. I can style that in multiple ways. Probably not the way I want though, which is probably the best one would be a brushed back look, but I can't really achieve that given that this hairline is not very good. Once again, this is medium density French lace color number 4. I won't even try to get glue into that tiny bit. There is the suggestion that somebody gave once of a toothpick, which would be the size that you'd want to get in there, but you get such a small amount of glue in there that it would barely have any effect. And as I've started doing, I think it's fair for you guys that I actually wait for my hair to dry so you can actually see how it looks when it's dry instead of just wet. Because wet isn't how it's going to look in real life. Wet's just how it looks in the bathroom. But also you never really get to see, because I don't do enough filming outdoors for you to see what the effects of the sunshine are on the hairpiece. I have done a few in the past, but probably not enough. This is just something you probably shouldn't do, but because I probably can't get the glue in there properly and I can't be bothered re-gluing it again, I'm simply going to cut that out. And yeah, because like I've said before, I've got very curly hair. It's better for me to use my hands for styling, rather than using a hairbrush for styling. And I'll probably get away with this kind of hairstyle today. It won't look like this though when it's dry. But I'm glad today that I've got to go an in-person audition where I can't trick the camera or something. I've got to actually be seen by people and meet people and shake their hand, etc., or do the elbow knock or whatever. Hopefully they will be okay with this. I'm not sure if I should shave this little goatee thing off for a Toyota commercial. But the brief does say they want somebody haggard in their 40s who's trying to look young by wearing a Vans t-shirt and some other younger person's clothes or whatever. But like I told you as well, when you go to a casting director you're not just going for that one role, you're going there to be remembered for other roles in the future. They might be thinking of something they're casting for, and I will be looking that up between now and the time I go to visit them to find out what this particular casting director is in the process of working on at the moment, which projects they're working on. And I might sort of half appeal to a good role in one of those projects. Thus is my job. I mean, such is my job, not thus is my job. I'm trying to sound smart. Okay, so this, I'm just about to shoot a scene. This is as dry as it's gonna get. How's the bald spot? Pretty good. So that's what it looks like dry. I'm sorry there's no sunshine yet. It's a bit early. So that's what French lace looks like. Medium dark brown. I highly recommend medium density, not medium light. If you've got really light density hair, you might think that's a good idea, and it looks really good on the first day. I've said this many times over the years. Swiss lace looks good on day one only. I want you to take that into account when you're thinking, do I really want something with really light density? And I showed you the problem with the light density, the medium light density custom piece they sent me a few videos back. That was poly. But the problem again was the light density. You could see through the hairs. You can't see through the hairs here. This is medium density. This is thick enough to not be able to see the scalp through it. You can still see some scalp through it, but you're not going to see unbleached knots. You're not going to see V-loop lines. With the front hairline, it fails here in this particular instance. I haven't read all the comments that have just been popping up on that Swiss lace video I did last time, but somebody seemed to have written, you can't bleach the blonde, it doesn't blend properly with the hair. No, I'm trying to blend with the forehead. This is probably nearly, I'm getting up to 300 videos now. So if you're new and you're commenting and giving me advice, it's a prerequisite that you go back and watch the other 280 videos before you fucking start thinking you're going to tell me how to do shit. All right? I know, I'm experimenting. So I can't qualify every comment with 9 years of the shit that I've already told you. All right? It's not like I'm in charge, but if you want to get advice from somebody who's had a lot of experience, then listen and learn. Yeah, so this is medium density. I highly recommend you choose medium density. My hair is fairly thick, my natural hair, sort of it suits me. I don't know what to do for you if you've got really light density hair. I would still say probably still get the medium density. Either French lace or poly. In fact, I'd probably recommend poly, because poly, this is not poly, this is French lace. French lace has a problem sticking that bit down at the front, right? You see all the tape marking and tan marking, all the other type of markings you gotta do. Some people get a comb and stab it into their forehead so that they can try to get a better estimate of where that hair's gonna land. But as you can see, when you peel that back and you try to press it down a bit and try to mark out exactly where it's gonna land, it stretches slightly and it doesn't press down. And if you lift your forehead up and down, it changes its altitude on your forehead a little bit. And then you miss, so it's either too much glue in your forehead or it's not far enough down, and then you get that tiny 1 millimeter lift all the way along the front or whatever else. And you really don't want that. With poly, you apply the glue over here, press it down, it's 100% accurate. That's why I think you should always have poly at the front. Now, of course, there's a COVID shortage, so get what you can until the industry gets the supplies back up and running. I just hope the distribution repairs itself. It should, hopefully, if there aren't too many international restrictions on sending hair and having it manufactured in one country and getting put back together and sold by other companies and so on throughout other countries, and then being delivered to your country. Let's just hope that it all gets repaired. But once again, medium density is good. Medium light density, you can see through it. Don't ever get anything with unbleached knots. It's absolutely disgraceful. It looks like shit. Poly has to be nose to spine in terms of the stitching direction. They're called V-loops. I don't just make that up. I don't like the word. I think it's the phrase. It sounds stupid, really. V-loop. A loop is a circle of some kind. A V is almost like the opposite of a loop. So I don't know who the fuck decided that was the best thing to call it. We're kind of stuck with it until they change the way it's written on websites. I don't think I have the authority to say, let's just say V-stitches, V-stitching. V-stitching is comprehensible. V-loops are incomprehensible. But that's what they're fucking called. So we're stuck with it. Knots are comprehensible as well. Knots, tie knot, boom, right? But do you want that bunched up knot on every base of every single fucking hair? No, you don't. You want a V-loop, a V-stitch. So that it's less perceptible. Unfortunately, the bottom of the V where it touches here is still dark if you've got dark hair against a pale skin if you've got pale skin like me. So dark hair, pale skin is the hardest combination with hair pieces at the front hairline to match, okay? Now, I think it was Samuel Spall, I think that's the name I was trying to remember. He recommends you bleach all, you buy a blonde hairpiece and then you just dye it your color and try to avoid getting anything into the roots. That sounds difficult. If he's able to achieve it, because he's putting some kind of layer of gel on the bottom and then just doing that with his fingers somehow and not getting the roots, that would be ideal if you could master that art of doing that. But it's almost like there's no method by which you can just pay a company money and they'll just do everything properly for you, because companies are just not good enough to do that. I've made a lot of suggestions over the years to companies on how they can improve their products, but predominantly I've been ignored. And I've spoken to a lot of you people who know, what do you mean you people? A lot of you people who wear hair pieces. So I have some kind of feedback coming through about what is missing in hair products. When I say hair products, I mean hair pieces. They should be made properly, but companies simply don't make them properly, so we're fucked. We have to do it all ourselves. We have to make reparations to these fucking things that they send us. Hair pieces are, by and large, perfect from where it meets the hair until it hits the front hairline. And then when it's at the front hairline, they just don't do it properly. I mean, if you've got a graduation because they've sold it to you as a piece where it's only good at the front and then all the rest is just fucked because they don't give a fuck about people who wear partials, etc., you might be having a good hair wearing experience because every hairpiece you get is graduated slightly back, you know, as it blends in from the front further back. In that situation, if you wear a full topper, you might be getting away with it. But with graduation, you've already got some hairs missing from the front, haven't you? Which means if you lose any more, it's already starting to be exposed base. And you can see some of the videos I've made about that. You don't want exposed base. Plastic on your forehead, people can tell. You're better off having your hair down past your eyes, if you can do it like that, and brushing it forward like this. Brushing it back is just so hard. Getting the hairline right is really hard. Even there you can see these bits, these unbleached hair, these knots that are fucked. So with poly, that would look better than this. Anyway, this is French lace. I started with Swiss lace. I much prefer medium density French lace. Think about it.